Welcome to the deep dive, where we take a pile of sources and pull out the really important stuff, the goal, to get you informed, maybe share a surprising fact or two, and hopefully keep it interesting.
That's the plan.
Today, we're plunging into AI, artificial intelligence. I mean, it's not just changing tech, right? It feels like it's reshaping, well, almost everything, science, daily life.
It really is.
Yeah.
Think industrial revolution, information age, maybe even a renaissance, kind of all rolled into one. That's the potential scale we're discussing.
Whoa. And that scale brings intense global competition, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Right.
Nations aren't just seeing this as, the next cool technology. It's strategic. It's a race with really profound implications for whoever leads.
That framing definitely sets the stage. And it leads us right into our source material for today's deep dive. A really crucial document from July 2025. It's called America's AI Action Plan, put out by the White House under President Trump.
And it's not subtle about its goals. It's presented quite explicitly as a roadmap for the U.S. to achieve and maintain what it calls unquestioned and unchallenged global technological dominance in AI.
Unquestioned and unchallenged. Strong words.
Very. The document frames the whole thing as a national security imperative. It talks about a global race, comparing it almost to the space race, where the winner sets the standards and reaps huge economic and military rewards. You get a real sense of urgency from it.
So, okay, what does this actually mean for you listening? Well, before we get into the specifics, the plan outlines three sort of guiding principles.
Right. These underpin everything else.
First, it says American workers are central. AI should complement work, not replace it. That's the stated goal. Second, it insists AI systems must be free from ideological bias and pursue objective truth. Now, that term, objective truth in AI, especially around complex social topics, well, that's a whole discussion in itself, and the plan has a definite take.
It certainly does. And the third principle.
Constant vigilance, basically needing to prevent misuse and theft of these advanced technologies. Makes sense.
So those are the foundations.
Mm-hmm.
And built on top of that are the plan's three main pillars.
Exactly. Pillar 1, accelerate AI innovation. Pillar 2, build American AI infrastructure. And pillar 3, lead in international AI diplomacy and security. We're going to try and break down each one.
That's good. Let's dive in.
Okay, pillar 1, accelerate AI innovation, fueling American ingenuity. The core idea seems to be that the government's job isn't to build the AI itself, but to, create the perfect conditions for the private sector to run with it.
Right. To let innovation flourish, not just in building powerful models, but also in finding creative, transformative ways to use them everywhere.
And a big part of creating those conditions, according to this plan, is cutting the red tape, removing onerous regulation.
Yeah, they specifically mentioned rescinding the Biden administration's Executive Order 14110 on AI. That previous order was aimed at creating a broad federal approach to AI safety and security. This plan argues it risked creating an onerous regulatory regime.
So pull back on regulation. And they're also calling for, what, request for information? An RFI?
Exactly. Asking businesses, asking the public, what federal rules are getting in the way of AI innovation right now?
So it's a strong signal, right? Deregulation to speed things up. But,
Right.
I mean, doesn't that raise the question of balance? Speed versus potential risks. How do you manage that?
That's the inherent tension, isn't it? The plan seems to lean towards the idea that you manage risk later through better understanding and design rather than upfront heavy regulation. It prioritizes getting things moving.
Okay. And within that push for innovation, they get very specific about values. This section on ensuring frontier AI protects free speech and American values.
Yeah, this is a major focus. Building AI, as they put it, from the ground up with freedom of speech and expression in mind.
And that translates in some pretty concrete actions, or recommendations at least,
Yeah.
like revising the NIST AI risk management framework, NIST being the National Institute of Standards and Technology.
Right. The recommendation is to revise that framework to eliminate references to misinformation, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and climate change.
Wow. That's a very direct instruction. And it also suggests changing federal buying guidelines.
Mm-hmm. Updating procurement rules so the government only contracts with large language model LLM developers whose systems are deemed objective and free from top-down ideological bias.
So for you listening, this isn't just the government buying tech. It's actively trying to shape the values baked into that tech, which, could influence how you get information for years to come. It's about what gets built in at the code level.
It's a powerful lever. And speaking of shaping the ecosystem, the plan also strongly champions encouraging open source and open weight AI.
Okay, open models. Why the push there?
Well, they see value for startups, for protecting sensitive data, for academic research. It fosters broader innovation. And there's a fascinating detail here.
Yeah.
They propose improving the financial market for compute, basically creating spot and forward markets for computing power, like you
Wow.
trade oil or grain.
Huh. So like a stock market for processor time.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
The idea is to give startups and academics easier, maybe cheaper, access to the massive computing resources they need for AI development, which is often a huge barrier.
That could really shake things up, potentially leveling the playing field a bit. But you mentioned geostrategic value earlier. Is pushing open source globally also part of that? Could that backfire?
It's definitely strategic. If the U.S. standard is open source, it fosters an ecosystem allies can easily join, potentially making it harder for adversaries to benefit from closed proprietary U.S. tech.
Hmm.
But yes, openness always carries risks too.
Okay. So we have deregulation, values, open source. What else under innovation?
Getting AI actually used. The plan talks about enabling AI adoption across industries. It points out that a big bottleneck right now isn't just building AI, but getting it adopted, especially by large established organizations, think healthcare, manufacturing.
Right, the big sectors where it could make a difference but might be slow to change.
Exactly. So the plan suggests things like regulatory sandboxes or AI centers of excellence, basically safe spaces to quickly test and deploy AI tools, encouraging more of a try-first culture.
So for you, the real impact comes when AI moves out of the lab and into your doctor's office or helps manage the power grid. It's about that real-world integration.
Precisely. And tied closely to that is empowering American workers in the age of AI. The plan pushes a worker-first AI agenda.
The whole complement, not replace idea again.
Yes, making sure AI helps people do their jobs better, rather than taking jobs away. Specific actions include prioritizing AI skills in education and workforce funding, using existing executive orders on AI education for youth and skilled trades training.
And there's a tax detail here too, right? Something about reimbursements.
Yeah, this is interesting for businesses and workers. The Treasury Department is supposed to issue guidance saying AI literacy and skill development programs might qualify for tax-free employer reimbursement under Section 132 of the Internal Revenue Code.
So a direct financial incentive for companies to upskill their workforce for AI. That tackles the job anxiety head on.
It aims to. It's focused on adapting the workforce and creating new, potentially high-paying jobs, especially related to building out all that AI infrastructure we'll get to later.
Okay. What about science? Is AI's role there mentioned?
Oh, definitely. Investing in AI-enabled science and world-class scientific data sets. The plan sees AI as transforming science itself, generating models for proteins, discovering new materials, even formulating hypotheses.
AI coming up with the research questions.
Potentially, yes. So the plan calls for investing in things like automated cloud-enabled labs and creating massive, high-quality, AI-ready scientific data sets. It even flips the idea of a whole genome sequencing program for life on federal lands.
That's ambitious. For you, this means AI could accelerate scientific breakthroughs in medicine, energy materials in ways we can barely imagine. But like you said, if AI starts formulating hypotheses, what does that do to the role of human scientist? Human intuition?
It absolutely changes the game. It shifts the scientist's role, perhaps more towards guiding the AI, interpreting results, asking the right questions for the AI to tackle, and for these powerful systems to be trusted, for the complex ones.
You need to understand them, right?
Exactly. That brings us to advancing AI interpretability, control, and robustness. The plan admits the inner workings of frontier AI systems are poorly understood. Their behavior can be unpredictable, which is obviously a problem in high-stakes areas like national security.
So how do they propose tackling that?
They recommend a DARPA-led tech development program. DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, known for big futuristic projects, and also an AI hackathon initiative to basically stress test these systems, looking for weaknesses in transparency, control, and security.
Makes sense. For you, this is about trust. Can we rely on these systems, especially when, as the plan notes, lives could be at stake? It's the black box problem.
It is. And one final piece under this innovation pillar: combating synthetic media in the legal system.
Deepfakes and fake evidence. That feels very immediate.
It is. Beyond existing efforts against things like sexually explicit deepfakes, the plan highlights the novel challenges to the legal system, from malicious deepfakes used as fake evidence.
So what's the plan there?
MIST, that standards agency, again, is tasked with developing its Guardians of Forensic Evidence deepfake evaluation program into a formal guideline and a voluntary benchmark for forensic tools, basically trying to create ways to reliably detect fakes in legal settings.
That's crucial for, justice. If you can't trust evidence, the whole system breaks down. Shows how fast AI is forcing old systems to adapt.
Absolutely. It's a constant catch-up game.
Okay, so that's a big push on innovation, values, adoption, and trying to get ahead of some risk. But all this AI needs power, right? And hardware.
A lot of power. Which brings us neatly to Pillar 2, build American AI infrastructure. This section really emphasizes a fundamental bottleneck, energy. The plan states very clearly, AI is the first digital service demanding vastly greater energy generation than we currently have. This is, America needs to build, baby, build to support AI, noting energy capacity has been pretty stagnant since the 70s.
Build, baby, build. Okay, so recognizing the physical limits. Software runs on hardware. Hardware needs power.
Exactly. It's a grounding in physical reality. So a key part of this is streamlined permitting for infrastructure.
Cutting red tape again, but for physical construction this time.
Pretty much. Reforming the National Environmental Policy Act, NEPA, that's the big environmental review law for federal projects. Creating new categorical exclusions specifically for data centers to speed up approval. Making federal lands available for building data centers and power plants.
But with a security check.
Yes, ensuring this critical infrastructure isn't built using adversarial technology.
So for you, this could mean faster construction of data centers and power facilities, potentially changing landscapes, and definitely impacting energy policy. But it also suggests a fundamental shift in balancing development speed versus environmental review, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It signals a real priority shift towards accelerating infrastructure builds, potentially with significant long-term environmental and economic ripple effects.
And hand in hand with building power plants is upgrading the grid itself.
Right. Developing a grid to match the pace of AI innovation. The U.S. electric grid is massive, complex, and needs major upgrades for energy-hungry AI.
What kind of actions are proposed?
Things like preventing the premature decommissioning of critical power generation resources, so keeping existing reliable plants online longer, optimizing the current grid better, and prioritizing reliable, dispatchable power sources.
Meaning?
Sources you can turn on and off when needed, providing consistent power. The plan specifically mentions enhanced geothermal, nuclear fission, and looking towards nuclear fusion.
Interesting. So for you, this focus on massive energy demand could directly hit your energy bill and affect power reliability. And the plan isn't just about more power, but specific types of power. A strategic bet on certain energy futures.
It's a very clear choice, favoring consistent baseload power over more intermittent sources, arguing that's what AI needs.
Okay, power and grid. What about the chips themselves?
Huge focus there. Restoring American semiconductor manufacturing. The goal is clear. Bring chip making back to the U.S., create jobs, secure leadership, protect supply chains.
This builds on the Chip Sheet ACE Act, presumably?
Yes, but the plan emphasizes getting a strong return on investment for the American taxpayer, and specifically removing what it calls extraneous policy requirements for CHIPS-funded projects, possibly streamlining some of the conditions attached to that funding.
So for you, this push for domestic chip production isn't just about jobs. It could mean the tech you use is less vulnerable to global disruptions. But could this intense focus on domestic production lead to a more fragmented global tech world? Less cooperation, maybe higher prices.
That's a definite possibility. Building resilient domestic supply chains might come at the cost of global integration and potentially slow down innovation if collaboration suffers. It's a trade-off the plan seems prepared to make for security reasons.
Security seems paramount, which leads to the next point, high-security data centers.
Exactly. Building high-security data centers for military and intelligence use. Recognizing that AI will process incredibly sensitive government data, the plan calls for new technical standards for data centers that can resist attacks from the most determined and capable nation-state actors.
So building digital fortresses, like a Fort Knox for data, essentially. Critical for national security in an AI age.
Precisely. And building all this stuff, data centers, power plants, chip fabs, requires people, not just AI coders.
Right, the infrastructure workforce.
Yes, training a skilled workforce for AI infrastructure. The plan highlights the need for high-paying occupations, like electricians, pipe fitters, advanced HVAC technicians, people who build and maintain the physical backbone.
So it details initiatives from the Department of Labor, Department of Commerce.
Yeah, identifying needed skills, developing training frameworks, expanding apprenticeships, and early career programs in these trades.
That's interesting. For you, it means new career paths opening up and a need for traditional skilled trades to adapt alongside the high-tech AI boom. It's a reminder that this revolution needs both circuits and wrenches.
Well put. And finally, under infrastructure, there's cybersecurity.
Protecting all this new critical infrastructure.
And recognizing AI's role in that. Bolstering critical infrastructure cybersecurity and promoting secure by design AI. The plan notes AI can be used for both cyber offense and defense.
So what's the approach?
It calls for an AI Information Sharing and Analysis Center, an AI ISAC, to share threat intelligence across critical sectors, energy, finance, communications. And it emphasizes building AI systems that are secure by design, robust, and resilient, especially for safety-critical uses.
The insight being that AI is both the lock and the key in future cybersecurity.
In many ways, yes. As AI gets deeper into everything essential, securing it becomes everyone's security concern.
Okay, so pillar I was innovation, pillar the second is building the physical foundation. But AI is global, which brings us to the third pillar.
Pillar 3, lead in international AI diplomacy and security. This is about shaping the global landscape, the core idea. To win the AI race, America needs to export its tech stack and standards and prevent rivals from, quote, free riding on U.S. innovation.
Export the stack, meaning hardware, software, everything.
Basically, yes, exporting American AI to allies and partners. The plan says the U.S. should meet global demand by exporting its full AI technology stack hardware, models, software, applications, and standards to all countries willing to join America's AI alliance.
It's an AI alliance. And the Commerce Department is involved.
Yeah, they're tasked with gathering proposals from industry groups for these full-stack AI export packages. It's not just selling products, it's about exporting an entire ecosystem, making American AI the global default, ideally.
That's a serious play for global influence. But what about existing international groups trying to govern AI, the UN, other bodies?
The plan expresses significant skepticism there. Under countering Chinese influence in international governance bodies, it voices concern about these bodies pushing burdensome regulations, vague codes of conduct, and specifically Chinese influence on standards for things like facial recognition and surveillance.
So the U.S. plans to push back.
Vigorously, it says. The State Department and Commerce Department are directed to vigorously advocate for international AI governance approaches that promote innovation, reflect American values, and counter authoritarian influence.
So for you, this means the fight over global AI rules impacting privacy, surveillance, how AI is used is going to be intense, with the U.S. taking a very assertive stance based on its defined values.
Absolutely. It's framing it as a direct values competition on the global stage.
And this competition involves controlling the flow of critical tech, right? Export controls.
Definitely. Strengthening AI compute and semiconductor manufacturing export controls. This is presented purely as geostrategic competition and national security, denying adversaries access to the most advanced AI chips and the tools to make them.
How do they plan to do that? Any new ideas mentioned?
They talk about exploring ways to use new and existing location verification features on advanced AI compute. Basically, trying to ensure sophisticated chips physically stay where they're supposed to be and don't get diverted to countries of concern. Geofencing for chips, maybe?
Wow, okay. And closing loopholes, too.
Yeah, developing new export controls on semiconductor manufacturing subsystems, not just the big multi-million-dollar machines, but perhaps critical components within them, trying to make the controls much tighter.
It really paints a picture of a technological Cold War trying to maintain a strategic edge by controlling choke points.
That seems to be the clear objective. And this control strategy isn't just unilateral.
They want allies on board.
Yes. Aligning protection measures globally, encouraging partners and allies to adopt similar export controls. The plan even mentions potentially using tools like the Foreign Direct Product Rule. That's a U.S. rule that can restrict foreign goods made using U.S. tech and maybe secondary tariffs to pressure countries into alignment.
A united front on tech security, creating a sort of tech bloc.
That appears to be the goal. It calls for a technology diplomacy strategic plan for an AI global alliance to ensure allies aren't enabling adversaries.
Okay, so controlling the tech flow. What about the risks from AI itself on a national security level?
The plan tackles that directly. Evaluating national security risks in frontier models. It acknowledges that the most powerful AI systems might pose novel national security risks.
Like what kind of risks?
Sophisticated cyber attacks, helping design biological or chemical weapons. The plan mentions CBRNE weapons. chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, or explosives. It also proposes evaluating AI systems developed by foreign adversaries for backdoors and other malicious behavior.
So a proactive defense against potentially catastrophic threats. Moving beyond thinking about tanks and planes to AI-enabled WMDs or crippling cyber attacks. That's sobering.
Is. And directly connected to that is the final point, investing in biosecurity.
Because AI can accelerate biological research, both good and bad.
Precisely. The plan notes AI's nearly limitless potential in biology, but also the risk that it could help malicious actors to synthesize harmful pathogens.
So what's the safeguard?
It requires federally funded institutions that work with DNA synthesis to use tools that have robust screening procedures, checking orders against databases of dangerous pathogens, and verifying who the customer is.
Trying to put guardrails around the intersection of AI and synthetic biology. It really highlights how AI's promise and peril are deeply intertwined, forcing a rethink of security itself.
It's a whole new landscape.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground. That was quite the deep dive into America's AI action plan. We've gone through those three big pillars: speeding up innovation, building the massive infrastructure needed, and leading the charge on global diplomacy and security for AI.
It really is a comprehensive vision. The plan paints a picture, aiming for a new golden age of human flourishing, economic competitiveness, and national security, all driven by AI. It's setting incredibly high ambitions.
And for you listening, it's clear this isn't just abstract policy. This plan sketches out a strategy that could reshape, well, almost everything. The job market, your data privacy, the power grid, how science gets done. Its reach is potentially enormous.
Absolutely. It's aiming to steer the nation through what it sees as a period of truly fundamental change.
So as we wrap up, maybe one final thought to leave you with, something to chew on. The plan, as we've discussed, is very clear about its mission: unquestioned and unchallenged global technological dominance. And it emphasizes embedding American values and pursuing objective truth in AI. So the question is, as AI continues to reshape our world and as other major powers push their own AI strategies with potentially different values baked in, what happens when these competing visions interact? How does this specific assertive American approach mesh or clash with the diverse goals of other nations also racing to define AI's future?
That's the multi-trillion-dollar question, isn't it? How these different national AI philosophies coexist or compete will shape the next century.
Indeed. A future we'll all be part of, and definitely one worth keeping a close eye on.